Finance Committee on June 25th, 2024 at 6 p.m. We have myself and Alder Jetzer in chambers. Jim Wheeler is excused, his absence is excused. First item of business is approval of minutes. I need a motion on the draft minutes of the June 11th, 2024 Finance Committee meeting.
I will move approval.
Moved by Alder Jetzer. Any discussion?
Just one typo. The year 2025 has only 2 2s in it, not 3.
I'll take that as a friendly amendment. Does that make sense, Misty?
At one point it says the 20225 budget worksheets. There was just an extra 2 in there.
Oh, I see. Got it.
All right, all in favor with that small change, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next item is public appearances for non-agenda items. I see no one in the audience and no one online, so we can move on to item 4, Finance Director Report, including the Treasurer's Report of May 2024. Misty?
Thank you. So, yep, included in the packet is the May Treasurer's Report. We did have one maturity that hasn't been reinvested quite yet, but I'll pause if there's questions on it before I move on.
I did have a couple questions.
Sure.
I noticed that there was one account at Oak Bank that has a balance of $254,000, and I was just wondering what sort of policy do we have? You know, when do you start to worry about that? When are you required to take any action?
Yeah. Thank you for pointing that out. So we should be at $250,000 or less in order to be fully FDIC insured. So we'll make sure to get that addressed. We also have the state guarantee fund, which gives us another $400,000 of coverage, but it's more limited. So it is our practice to try to keep that below $250,000. I'll let the treasurer know.
Okay. And then just a very high level question. What kind of, in an easily digestible answer, what sort of strategy do we have in terms of how much money we put in LGIP versus ICS, WISC versus a bunch of small accounts in local banks, and also strategy regarding investment by type?
So we have an investment policy that I'll share with you. That's probably the easiest digestible answer. In general, the city cares about safety, then liquidity, and then yield. So we want to make sure it's all in investments that are safe. And then the smattering of local CDs is really just to reinvest in our local community. So it's mostly focused on safety.
Is that investment policy, is that something that the council voted on at some point? Okay.
Yes.
Along with all those financial policies that we put into place.
Separate policy, separate time, but the council approved it. Yes.
Fantastic.
I can send those both over.
Any other questions? Great. And you want to continue with your report, Misty?
Yeah, so other than that, so we did have the CIP hearing last night. Thank you both for your attendance at those. I always find them so interesting. Amendments, if you have any, are due next week, Friday. Please be sure to use that form that I had emailed out to the council so that we can have them in the consistent format. And then just a friendly reminder that our next meeting, July 9th, is canceled on both the finance and council.
All right. Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is the review of bills. 5A, detailed review of checks for $10,000 and above from June 1st to 15, 2024, totaling $2,602,708.49. Any questions?
None.
All right, we can move on to 5B, detailed review of all checks issued, checks 126997 to 127117 from June 1st to 15, 2024, totaling $2,797,058.91. Any questions?
No.
Moving on to 5C, detailed review of P-card transactions for $10,000 and above for the cycle ending May 6th, 2024, totaling $166,580.22. Questions?
Nope.
We can move on to 5D, review of P-card transactions for the cycle ending May 6th, 2024, totaling $286,919.26. Questions?
Nope.
All right, nice and quick. Moving on to action items. Item 6A, I need a motion on Resolution R10524, police purchase of UTM training kits.
I will move approval on R10524.
Moved by Alder Jetzer. Captain, are we throwing it over to you?
Good evening. Yes, the UTM kits are conversion kits for training purposes. They convert our firearms to be able to use in a training environment. We have a other brand that we've been using for several years now. Those have come to end of life, and we have to kind of pick a lane. We already have some of these UTMs that have been proven very reliable and effective for our training, so we've decided to just enhance that brand and let the old brand go to the garbage, so to speak.
And I understand you're using training vacancy or training funding that exists but wasn't used this year for to pay for these kits?
Sorry, so the financing for this is actually coming from extra money we had in the ammunitions budget.
Oh, got it.
That we were fortunate enough to have enough ammunition that we didn't need to purchase a whole bunch, and so that left over will pay for this. Push that for you. And so we have the money from the ammunition budget.
Great. From the munitions budget. Fantastic. Questions, Bill? No? All right. All in favor of Resolution R 10524, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thanks so much, Captain.
Thank
you. Next action item 6B, resolution. I'd like a motion on Resolution R 10724, Richardson Street and McKee Road traffic signal cabinet repair.
I'll move approval of R 10724.
Moved by Alder Jetzer. And our Public Works Director. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you guys. Resolution R-10724 is for the Richardson Street McKee Road traffic signal cabinet repair. Vehicle hit the traffic control cabinet at the intersection of Richardson Street and McKee Road on December 28th, 2023. City of Madison repairs and maintains the City of Fitchburg's traffic signals. The City of Madison is now invoicing this accident for case number FP 23-25931. A driver or the insurance company has been billed the amount of $29,894.56. The city sent the invoice to Charter Communications back on May 31st, 2024. So we're looking for approval for the finance department to send the check to the City of Madison in the amount of $29,894.56.
Do we anticipate that the insurance claim will come through? Has that?
I don't know if it's been paid yet. I could look it up. My guess is that it probably will. Otherwise,
think
we'll
it'll
send it to collections since
an
we know
issue.
who the responsible party is.
Great.
Yeah, and Tim, you said Charter Communications. It was a charter van that hit the box, right?
Correct. Charter Communications van hit it.
I hope that person was okay. That sounds like a bad accident. Okay, well, this seems pretty straightforward. Ready to vote? All in favor of Resolution R 10724, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next item of business is 6C, and I'll need a motion on Resolution R 11224, acceptance of the North Fish Hatchery Hub bids.
I'll move approval of R 11224.
Moved by Alder Jetzer. And is our Misty Parks Director, is he going to start? Oh, Tim's going to start.
Enberg Anderson worked with many city departments and outside organizations to design an indoor and outdoor gathering and recreation park area for the North Fish Hatchery Road area, herein referred to as the North Fish Hatchery Hub Project. Public Works Department has prepared the construction plans and specifications and obtained competitive bids for this project. Project was advertised by legal notice in the Wisconsin State Journal on April 25th, 2024 and May 5th, 2024, as well as was posted on questcdn.com. On May 29th, 2024, 3 bids were received and publicly opened with the results listed in the attached bid tab. Kenneth F. Sullivan Company's low bid of $4,280,960 was found to be in compliance with the bid specifications. The 2024 budget includes carryover of $4,056,357. There are park improvement fees and park fees in lieu of land dedication available to make up the fund difference needed to construct this project. So we're looking for approval to award the North Fish Hatchery Hub project to Kenneth F. Sullivan Company in the amount of $4,280,960, plus a contingency of $430,000. And with this resolution, there's also a budget amendment, and we're looking to amend the 2024 budget in various funds to allocate $1,084,532 in additional funding and to replace prior funding sources authorized as shown on the attached supporting documentation for the North Fish Hatchery Hub project.
Anything you'd like to add, Scott? Great. Yeah, I mean, this project has been a long time coming, and there have been a lot of delays, so with delays come increases in cost. Really happy that we could find the funding within the park fees to cover this. But I personally think this is a priority for the city to get this done and over the finish line. Bill, any questions? Great. If there's nothing else to add, we can go ahead and take a vote. All in favor of Resolution R11224, say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Next item is 6D. I will take a motion on Resolution R12224, authorizing the purchase of professional services for public outreach and education regarding a potential referendum, Phase 3.
I'll move approval on R12224.
Moved by Alder Jetzer. Missy?
Yes. So on the assumption that council intends to continue on the path that we've been taking to possibly go to referendum in November, there's the Phase 3 services we would like to engage, which will help make sure that the public is aware of what we're doing and the rationalization for what the request is, which would require some additional cost. I'm proposing that we continue working with Miller Communications, who again is one of the leaders in this industry and has been very helpful for us in the first two phases. So this resolution would authorize that contract, and then it also authorizes a budget amendment. There's an additional $30,000 that is needed on top of what we originally thought the entire thing would be. It's because of the additional meetings that have been held, the additional translation services that are being requested, and just the scope of what council is looking for as we're doing this outreach information. And then included in the resolution is also that council supports the outreach plan that we're talking about. So it would be for 3 direct mailings and then 7 informational meetings is what's included in this contract.
Great. We've had a lot of discussion about this, so I don't feel like I have any more questions about Mueller. I know they have a good reputation in the community for the work that they do regarding referendums. Any questions from you, Bill? All right. We can go ahead and take a vote. All in favor of Resolution R12224, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next item of business is going to be 6E. And I'll take a motion on Resolution R12424, authorizing the return of 2023 cash donation.
I'll move approval on R12424.
Moved by Alder Jetzer. And who will skip? Scott, go ahead.
Sure. This is actually the last step in approving a request made by Mr. Pickelman to return his donation of $1,000 that he made to the city in 2023 on behalf of his beloved wife and the loss of his 2 dogs and his beloved wife. So this is the final step, approving his request to return that donation of $1,000.
My one question, I know you've discussed this in parks, but can you give me some insight as to why we were not able to find a suitable location for this?
Well, basically, I think there was a little bit of hesitancy from Scott to begin with, and we looked at a couple different options.
Scott, so just to clarify, Scott meaning the donor?
Yep, Mr.
Okay.
Pickelman.
All right.
The accident did occur on Sain Road, so his thought was that he wanted to try and do a bench or some kind of recognition along Sain. And we're in the city's in the process of redoing Sain Road, which would delay the potential project that he was looking to do. And in fairness and in honesty, he really did kind of struggle in determining what he wanted to do. There was a little bit of indecision from his perspective, and I think he made the donation right away in 2023 with the idea of trying to do something, but at the end of the day, we just couldn't come up with something that fulfilled his request.
Got it. And I hope if at a later date, if he wants to pursue this again after the road reconstruction happens, perhaps we can find something that would meet his
Absolutely,
wishes.
absolutely.
Okay, great. Anything from you, Bill? Great. We can go ahead and take a vote. All in favor of Resolution R 12424, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next item, 6F, Resolution R 12524. I'll take a motion on this one, and it's authorizing the rejection of bids for the Stoner Prairie Park Plan implementation.
I'll move approval of Resolution R 12524.
Moved by Alder Jetzer. Scott?
Yes, this is, staff is recommending the rejection. We did bid this project and received 2 bids on the project, but both of the bids were over the engineer's estimate along with the budget that we have allocated for this project. So what we're looking to do, if after this rejection, is rebid it with a couple different modifications to the bid document, including a base bid and some alternates, along with extending the completion of the project to June of 2025.
Great. That happens from time to time. Seen this a few times come through where we had to reject the bids to allow us to go back to the drawing board. Anything from you, Bill?
So you said 2 bids were received, but there were 3 in there. One of them wasn't qualified because they didn't bid the whole thing?
They just bid a piece of it, Bill.
Yeah.
They just bid the, I believe it was...
Just the playground, Minnesota-Wisconsin playground?
Yeah, they just bid the playground portion of it. And actually what we're going to do is we're going to have a base bid of the shelter and then an alternate of the playground. And typically what will happen is the general contractor, which the 2 bids that we received, they have to sub out with a contract or with a playground installer and provider. And I suspect, the general contractor then has to put their markup on it, if you would. So what we're going to do is have the base for the shelter and then the alternate for the playground. And then if the alternate doesn't come in very good, we could potentially reject that alternate and then bid that separately, is the thought.
Great. And you said June 2025 is probably when we're going to be constructing this?
The completion by June of 2025, with the idea that if we bid now, it'll give the contractor some flexibility in the timing to get the project completed, which we're hoping will encourage more participation in providing a bid for the project.
What was the original completion date?
Oh, it was this fall.
Oh.
It was this fall. Yeah, it's tough to get it out to bid, and so this way, hopefully contractors will begin to start to put their 2025 schedule together, and we'll hit that right away.
Yeah, I was wondering if there's a strategy to when you post the RFP.
Yeah.
I mean, is there a slow season where you can get better numbers?
Well, I think what we're learning is it's better to plan 1 year and then bid towards the end of that year and then plan the project for completion the following year.
All right, seeing no more questions, we can go ahead and take a vote. All in favor of Resolution R 12524, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thanks, Scott. Next item, 6G, Resolution R 12624, authorizing the purchase of human resource payroll system advisory services.
I'll move approval of Resolution R 12624.
Moved by Alder Jetzer. Misty?
Yes. So there's a pretty thorough staff memo included in the packet, recognizing that this is a pretty hefty price tag. But But the history of it is, back in 2017, an internal staff group looked at different software options in order to move to electronic timekeeping. Before that, we were all doing paper timesheets with manually passing around it, signatures, all of that. Really wanted to move into the current century and do electronic timesheets instead. After that evaluation, a new software was selected and implemented in 2018, and we've been working with that software over the last 6 years, but are still not able to get police officers, one of our largest employee groups, off of those paper timesheets. In addition to that, there's a lot of pieces that the software that was picked said that they could do that it turns out they couldn't do that are somewhat government unique. So looking at doing another review of what software options are available, but would like to get some help. Recognizing that staff tried to do it on our own. It was successful in many respects, but not fully successful. We're hopeful that by having an advisory services consultant help us with this process, that we can make sure we get it a fully successful project. So the scope of this contract would be to work us through this initial process. So, what our needs assessment are, what our best practices should be that we're looking for, help us figure out who we should even look at, what questions we should ask, also help us through contract negotiations, and then implementation as well. So kind of have that third party that's done this a bunch of times before come in and really help us make sure we're doing it the right way. There are a few different reasons for why we'd like to hire the consultant listed in there. We do think that while there is a price tag, that it will create more efficiencies and a better project overall. We did not go out to bid for this. There is the Finance Directors Professional Association, GFOA. They have a separate arm that does this for a lot of local governments across the country, and so have a really unique skill set that can help us through this process, recognizing that the uniqueness of government is a big part of what caused the problems that we're experiencing. And so there are 3 phases that they proposed. Again, recognizing it's a relatively high cost, I'll say that it is within budget. Doing this contract does not impact our ability to implement a new payroll process or provider. It also does not impact our ability to look at budget software next year, which I know is something that I, for one, am very excited about. So the funding is available. But if this is too large of a contract for council to accept, I did list some other alternate options, which could include maybe we do go out to bid. Hesitant, of course. The price that they provided at $275 per hour seems pretty reasonable based on what we've seen in other contracts. So I don't know that we would get better pricing. Definitely seems to be an expertise with the professional association that we may not be able to get with other areas. Other ways we could do it is we could reduce the scope. We could just do it as a staff-led project again, but I'd be very concerned about the ability to get a fully successful project again. Or we could just have the vendor, pick a vendor and they can lead us through it, but that obviously has some concerns as well. So staff's recommendation would be to approve this contract, recognizing it's a high price tag, but we think the efficiencies we get, not just in finance, but also in the police department, and just having an electronic workflow would be worth that cost.
Yeah, thanks for the explanation, for the thorough memo. I definitely support this. I think our HR department is already wildly overburdened with all the work that they do, and being involved in selecting a software without some outside assistance, I think, would just be too much. And like you said, implementing a software that then fails to do its job is incredibly time-consuming and a waste of funds and a waste of staff time, which is limited as it is. So I think making sure we get this right. And also, it's just wild to me that the police officers are still on paper timesheets. So it really, this needs to happen. This is another one of those things that I've seen over the last 4 years where we just need to update and improve efficiencies so that city staff can do their work more easily and spend the time on the work that they really need to be doing and not on these other level administrative tasks that are not a good use of anybody's time. Any questions from you, Bill?
Yeah, I'm just wondering if you get together with finance directors from neighboring municipalities and talk about this sort of thing. And, I would hope that a lot of local governments across the United States are all on, a common system because they're all local governments, and that's not the case.
So not necessarily. So I'll say there are some local governments that are on our current provider that have had more success than we have had, but not fully success either. And I guess that's the other benefit of the professional association is they know who all these big players are that we wouldn't necessarily know to even reach out to. If you look at local governments, for the most part, here in Dane County at least, the payroll is done through their accounting software. And we have a relatively bare bones accounting software, which doesn't have the capacity or capabilities to do a lot of those more modern functions that we want it to do. So there's a difference there. And the cost to implement a much more robust accounting software is significantly more than taking this one piece that's more advanced and doing a best of breed.
And is this is payroll and HR?
The focus is on payroll primarily, but HR would be at the table as well as, of course, the police department, and we wouldn't want to take away any functionality from other departments. We'd make sure that that was all there. So we will look at what we use for the variety of different softwares that do this whole thing, and at the staff level, we're all open to other ideas. So like police department is open to a conversation about a new scheduling software. HR is open to the idea of a new HR software too, if it makes sense overall. But we really want to look at it globally, recognizing that it may not be one solution that fits all of those needs, but at least get something that can work well together.
I mean,
So
typically,
maybe, but maybe not.
yeah. Typically, you'd want your HR software to integrate with your payroll software.
Right.
And so if you don't have one system, then the integration becomes another hurdle potentially.
Exactly.
Yeah, I appreciate that there's helping them with the contract and the implementation as well as piece of this. Do we anticipate that we'll be able to select and thus budget for this by the fall so we can put it in the 2025 budget?
So this is already included in the current year's budget. We've carried it over a couple of years. It's one of those projects that hasn't risen to the top of priority.
Oh, I
so we
guess
had a pot of money available for software in general. So we used it already to do the upgrade of what we currently have for accounting software. We bought new lease and technology tracking software, and then we invested more in OnBase in order to try to do some pieces. So this is that next phase, I would say, of that big pot.
Oh, I guess I was meaning for like the future of the whatever software we select. I assume that there's like there'd probably be an annual fee since all softwares apparently now do annual subscriptions rather than pay up front. So we'll be able to budget for that going into the year 2025.
Yeah, so the software we currently have is one of the more expensive options on the market. So my guess is that the cost will be comparable. So it'll probably be an in and out from the old provider to the new provider is my gut. But yes, we should know soon.
Great. Seeing no more questions, we can go ahead and take a vote. All in favor of Resolution R12624, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next item, 6H, Resolution R12824, approving an intergovernmental agreement between the City of Fitchburg and the Town of Dunn for pavement replacement on Schneider Drive. Can I get a motion?
I move approval of Resolution R12824.
Great. Motion by Alder Jetzer. And Tim, take it away.
All right, the City of Fitchburg owns and maintains Schneider Drive from County Highway MM to a point 1,478 feet east of County Highway MM, and the Town of Dunn owns and maintains Schneider Drive from this point to US Highway 51. The asphalt surface of Schneider Drive is in poor condition with a pavement surface evaluation and rating, which is our PACER rating, of a 4 and is in need of resurfacing. The Town of Dunn applied for a Local Roads Improvement Program grant, LRIP, funding for resurfacing both the town and city portions of Schneider Drive, and the City of Fitchburg was listed as a secondary beneficiary on their grant application. City will be responsible for the cost of its portion of the construction cost for Schneider Drive, which is $64,024.50, less the amount of the grant portion for its portion of Schneider Drive, which is $50,596.60. Town will be responsible for the remainder of the cost involved in the project and for handling reimbursement for the grant. We're looking for approval of the intergovernmental agreement between the City of Fitchburg and the Town of Dunn for pavement replacement on Schneider Drive.
Great. It's nice. It was great to have those work together to get those streets, since we have some of those streets that overlap between the two municipalities. Was there an amendment on this one? Oh, it looks like.
Yes, so staff had a amendment, and what we did is we just updated the fourth whereas clause in the resolution to reflect the actual bid pricing that we received for the project. The original resolution had cost based off the engineer's cost estimate.
Great. I just wanted to clarify that the motion that Alder Jetzer did was with the amendment, because that's what's listed in the packet.
Can you confirm that, Alder Jetzer? That was your intention?
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you.
Great. It is what's listed in the packet when you download it, is the amended version. So great, with the updated numbers. Any other questions?
No, I'll just point out that there is a red line version of the resolution in the agenda packet on page 190, the very last page of the agenda packet.
Yes.
So a couple dollar amounts have been updated based on, to reflect that amendment.
Fantastic. So all in favor of resolution R12824, the amended version in the packet, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is announcements. As Misty mentioned at the beginning, our next regular meeting is canceled because we do not do our first meeting in July. So our next finance meeting is going to be July 23rd, 2024. And next item is adjournment. Can I get a motion?
I move we adjourn.
All in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. We are adjourned at 6:32 p.m. Thanks so much.